Welcome to Making It Last, where we share ideas to help families tackle major issues. I'm your host, Regina DeMeo, and over the last year and a half, we've had about 60 guests, and today's guest is from Al-Anon, and I want to kind of explain how this relates to everything we've done so far. So we started off with talking about couples, and if you looked at the past episodes, we've had about 12 mental health professionals. We've had about 15 attorneys, and we featured 14 nonprofits, all helping families in this area. We've talked about how to find a spouse, get a house, how to manage money, how to plan a wedding, how to deal with couples issues, raising children and all the issues that come along with that. We've talked about how to plan a funeral, how to deal with elder care issues and your parents' estates. We've even had to deal with divorce. And there's one subject that is very prevalent in this area that I have postponed doing for quite some time. And it's a very difficult subject to discuss. It hits home to a lot of people. And the fact is, in this very stressful area, a lot of people lack coping skills to deal with stress, to deal with anxiety, or to deal with their depression. And I can't tell you how many people I have to see every day that deal with alcoholism as part of their family dynamic. And so I've put this off for a very long time, but it's something that we really need to talk about because a lot of people lack the skills to deal with alcoholism. And so Sarah, who is part of Al-Anon, is here today to help me discuss this very difficult subject. And because of the issues of anonymity, you won't be able to see her face, so you're stuck seeing me most of the time. So Sarah, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Regina, for having me.
So can I ask you, when was Al-Anon created?
Al-Anon was created over 60 years ago. It was actually founded in 1951 by a married couple. And actually, the man of the couple helped found Alcoholics Anonymous, and his wife wanted a program for herself. So she and another woman founded Al-Anon.
And how many groups are there here in Maryland?
There are approximately 262 meetings a week in Maryland and D.C.
Wow. What is the mission of Al-Anon? Because it's different from AA.
Al-Anon is very different from AA. It is not even affiliated with AA, although both fellowships, Al-Anon and Alcoholics Anonymous, do cooperate with one another. The purpose of Al-Anon is to welcome and to give comfort to families who are dealing with alcoholics, and also to give understanding and encouragement to the alcoholic.
And why is anonymity so important to your group?
Anonymity is important as a safety factor. People who come to Al-Anon want to feel safe in unburdening themselves and talking about what's going on in their families and how they are personally affected by the alcoholics in their family, or even friends.
Do you find that people in the meetings can feel safe and they're open and sharing the problems?
Absolutely I do, especially if people keep coming back. As I mentioned, a lot of people come into this program not necessarily kicking and screaming, but being told that this is a place where you can go and get help. And they come in going, well, wait a minute, it's the alcoholic who needs help, not me, and not even realizing how much pain they are in and how much they are suffering because of this family disease of alcoholism. And yes, people who keep coming back find that they do find help and even hope and encouragement for themselves in dealing with the alcoholic.
Well, it's very difficult. I have a lot of clients that are unfortunately alcoholics, and they seem to think that it's a victimless crime. And even worse, a lot of them refuse to acknowledge they have a problem unless they've been arrested and somehow become part of the legal system. So most people think that as long as I go to work and as long as I'm not being arrested with a DUI, then I don't have a problem. And they're ignoring what I refer to as the ripple effect, which is that we don't all live in an island by ourselves. We are surrounded by people around us, and our actions do affect those in our families and in our immediate surroundings. So what kind of programs do you have that help the family members of an alcoholic, whether the alcoholic is in treatment or not?
Well, the Al-Anon program is based on the same 12 steps that are used in Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of the things that I like to stress in dealing with the family disease of alcoholism is that Al-Anon is a spiritual program. It is not a religious program, and that it is not allied with any religion, any sect, any denomination, and it is also not really considered a treatment center or a counseling agency. However, one of the ways that it helps the family members of alcoholics is in talking about what we refer to as the 3 C's.
Okay.
And that is, in relating to an alcoholic, you didn't cause the problem with the alcoholic, you cannot control the alcoholic, and you cannot cure the alcoholic. But by working on yourself, you will get help and you will find solutions that lead to better relationships in families. We like to use the airplane analogy, you know, when you're on a plane and someone needs help, if the plane is going down, you have to help yourself first before you can help someone else. So you put the oxygen mask on yourself first before you try to help the other person. And the way we help each other in this program is by practicing the 12 steps and giving encouragement and even hope to each other that this is something we can get through.
What are the 12 steps? Do you recall them?
Well, I don't have a copy of all of them with me to read them to you, but in general, they start with admitting that we are powerless over alcohol and that our lives have become unmanageable and trying to deal with it. And the whole idea is we refer to God, if you will, as a higher power, that we turn our life and our will over to our higher power to help guide us in dealing with this. I know for myself in my own situation, being with Al-Anon for 8 years myself, I reached a point where I thought, I can't do this. Help. I need help. And so I really did turn to my higher power and say, please, God, tell me what to do. I don't know how to deal with this. And in doing that, I heard a little message in my head that said, what do you want? And when I thought about that, I said, well, what I want is love. And so I kind of sat with that for a little bit, and then I heard another little voice in my head that said, well, be the change you wish to see. And I went, that's the answer that I'm looking for, is if I want love, then give love. And rather than condemning the alcoholic or chastising the alcoholic or blaming the alcoholic, try to love and support the alcoholic and anyone else who is dealing with that the best I can, and also to work on myself and get the help that I need for my own recovery and personal growth, since this alcoholism is considered a family disease.
I love the serenity prayer. I mean, I think that all divorced people should embrace that prayer, right? It's learning what you can control, what you can't, and just knowing the difference between the two.
I happen to have the serenity prayer right here. If you want, I'd like to say it.
Absolutely.
I think we say this at every single Alateen meeting. At the start of the meeting and at the end of the meeting, we say this prayer. And it is just an amazing slogan, if you will, to help people cling to for help and hope. And it says, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah, the wisdom's the key part, and I think a lot of people often get angry at the other person because it's like, why can't this person just stop drinking? And it took me a long time, in 15 years of dealing with divorcing people, to realize that, like you said, it's a disease. And until they want to get treatment, you can't force someone to get help. They can't, often see all the damage that they're doing. We all have something from our past that causes us pain. And not everybody is able to acknowledge it, address it, and then find a different path. So, I think it's great that we're talking about this. And, with the Alateen that you were talking about, is that just for teenagers?
Yes, Al-Anon, and part of Al-Anon is the Alateen program, goes from the ages of 9 to 19.
Oh, wow.
And it is indeed a program that also uses the same 12 steps for children 9 to 19 who are dealing with alcoholic family members.
Well, when we come back from our break, I definitely want to talk about that more, because what I don't think people realize is that kids are like sponges, and they pick up on everything that their parents are doing. And if you come home after work and have your 3 martinis, and there's a 9-year-old in your family, that 9-year-old is watching what you're doing, and they're learning. So it's great that they have these programs available for children, and hopefully they can then break the cycle and not continue with certain bad behaviors. So we're going to take a short break, and then we will be right back.
I got no balls for losing. Shocking.
Is it real all the time? Just had a few drinks. This can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear.
We just buzzed.
Just buzzed. You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. You'll be fine.
I feel good.
Really?
No, not really.
Buzz driving. Clear. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Welcome back to Making It Last, where we share ideas to help families tackle major issues. I'm your host, Regina DeMeo, and with me today is Sarah from Al-Anon. And we've been talking about a very prevalent problem in this area, which is alcoholism, and how it can impact families. And when we left off before the break, we were talking about teenagers, and there's a program called Alateens. And let's hear what some of those teenagers have to say about that program.
Before I came to Alateen, life was pretty difficult. My mom had started dating an alcoholic and a drug addict, and my dad was a drug addict and an alcoholic. It was hard because having no place for a father figure, like, I could kind of see my dad being my father, but it was hard to see him when he was not. We didn't talk to each other because of his addiction, and he was just not a normal person.
Before I started going to Alateen, my house was just not regular, but regular for the most part, just without a father. My dad was the alcoholic in my life, and he left when I was about 3 years old. After a little while, the divorce papers finally went through, I think mainly because he wanted money out of my mother.
Denial is the number one thing, it's the number one feature of the disease of alcoholism. And with the denial becomes the ability to blame. And so in a family where there is alcoholism present, blame is always a key factor within the family. The alcoholic wants to blame everybody else for their behavior, wants to blame everything on other people so they can justify continuing to drink. And the family, of course, has the luxury of being able to focus on the alcoholic and blame the alcoholic for all issues going on within the family. As a clinician, if you're working with adolescents and you're starting to wonder if they're in this system, one of the things that I look for is how shut down is the adolescent about the family that they come from. A lot of times there's so much blame going on that the family acts almost as a cult, to where they're not allowed to talk about it outside the family. And so as I gently start to explore with clients and families about what's going on in the system, when they're reluctant to talk about mom or dad's drinking, and when they're reluctant to talk about the feelings that are going on in the family, and when they're reluctant to talk about what the dynamics are, that's always an indicator to me to explore that a little bit further. And once the kid opens up and begins to talk a little bit more about it, you can start to explore, well, how much chaos is there in the family? And how difficult is it to make sure that things stay peaceful and calm in the family? And generally by that time, if you can get them talking about that, then the kid will start to explain where the chaos is and how much work they're having to do to try and manage the chaos within their family to keep everything from blowing up at any given moment. And they find out, the clinician will find out, that they're actually spending a lot of time trying to keep things on an equilibrium basis and keep everything equally within the family. They are good candidates to go to Al-Anon.
Well, that was really interesting to hear from those teenagers. So, Sarah, I have another question we haven't addressed yet, which is, how is all of this funded?
Each meeting is fully self-supporting by whatever contributions people give, although you do not have to pay anything at all to come to an Al-Anon or an Al-Anon meeting. It is suggested that you give $1 donation, and it is those donations which pay for the meetings.
Oh, okay. And where are those meetings typically held?
Typically they're held in churches around the area who we pay a small fee to in order to use one of their rooms for the weekly meetings that take place.
I still can't get over 252 meetings a week that go on here, although it doesn't surprise me given the, extent of this disease. And if you go away on vacation, you can go to any meeting anywhere you are in this world. Am I correct about that?
Absolutely. It is a worldwide fellowship, and there are literally meetings all over the world. My husband and I went on vacation to Hawaii, and we went to 3 Al-Anon meetings while we were in Hawaii.
Wow. So after all this time, what do you see as the benefit of still going to these meetings? Because by now you've got it down. You've got the Serenity Prayer down. You've got the 3 C's. So what's the ongoing benefit that you get at this point?
Well, there are a couple of things there, Regina. The idea is that I myself have been going for about 8 years. There are people who have been in that program over 20 years. And you wonder, why do they keep coming back?
Right.
We keep coming back because, first of all, we're still dealing with the repercussions of alcoholism in our lives. And by coming back, we get the support and help that we need to get through these difficult situations or whatever is going on in our lives. And also, we feel that Al-Anon has given us so much hope, so much encouragement, that we also come back in order to help others, in order to carry this message that there is hope and you can get through this, and if you focus on your own personal recovery in this, you will get better, even though it seems like dealing with the alcoholic situation sometimes causes insurmountable problems. We learn how to deal with it and how to cope with it, and we also learn that it is not a program where people give you advice or tell you what to do. You come up with your own solutions by listening to the stories of other people and how they have handled their situation. and what they are doing to keep their serenity.
Let me ask you this, because the ones that I see obviously are the ones that have made a choice, a very difficult choice, to divorce. But the people that go to these programs, there's some of them are choosing to stay in this marriage, am I right? Like, not all of them are choosing to leave.
Absolutely. Sometimes in staying with the alcoholic and supporting the alcoholic, they will get help themselves, and of course that's their own program of Alcoholics Anonymous. And if they do join Alcoholics Anonymous themselves and get help, there is a great possibility of sobriety for the alcoholic.
I don't know if you've read this book by Dr. Cloud, but it's called Boundaries in Marriage. And I wish I had read that before I got married. Instead, I read it after I got divorced. And, you know, I never knew about boundaries. No one had ever explained that to me. And it's okay to say no. And it's okay to not always want to rescue somebody. It's okay sometimes to, let the world see that everything's actually not perfect. None of us are perfect, and no one has the perfect house with the perfect spouse and, the perfect little family going on. And sometimes that's actually what has to happen in order for the person with an issue to realize they need to do something for themselves. Do you think that that's part of the message that people are getting when they go to these meetings?
I absolutely think that's a big part of the message, because like we mentioned, many people do remain in the family with the alcoholic, and many people do find that they can get on with their lives just fine, especially in realizing that this is a spiritual program, and as such, there is a power greater than ourselves that can help us. Al-Anon is not conducted by professionals. Everyone who comes to an Al-Anon meeting, although they may possibly be a professional, comes anonymously, not as whatever their profession is, and the meetings are led by a volunteer at each meeting who leads on whatever the topic is for that meeting.
So is the topic decided ahead of time, or is it just kind of you go and then whatever comes up, you go with that?
It depends. Each meeting gets to decide for themselves as a group how they want to run their program. Of course, every meeting is always based on the 12 steps, but they're what are referred to as daily readers in Al-Anon, and sometimes the meeting is the page of the day, and whoever is the lead will talk about what the page of the day means to them, and then people after that will all share on how they relate to that page. Sometimes the people pick particular topics to talk about, for example, boundaries. And of course, many of us, myself included, are very surprised to go to Al-Anon and learn for the first time about boundaries, and as you said, that yes, no is a complete sentence.
Yeah, I bet you're going to get a lot more teenagers coming pretty soon. And I mean, I like to be an optimist, and I'd rather think the best, but I also plan for the worst. And the fact is, with all of the social media stuff and all of the things that people are posting on Facebook and Twitter, you can see, first of all, how much more prevalent the drinking is with the younger generations. And secondly, it's so much easier to feel alienated. I mean, I was telling my son the other day, now you can track how many friends somebody has. And so you could feel like a real loser if you only have like 300 friends, but your friend over there has 900 on Facebook. And on Facebook, you could see all the pictures, or Instagram, and see all the parties. And, it's much easier to see what other people have and what you don't have. And as people start to feel more alienated and not as connected to one another, I can really see how a quick fix could be, oh, let me just go have a few beers. And that's not the answer. that is a real problem that I see is going to get worse with upcoming generations. And I hope that people will understand that there are programs like yours. How would people find a meeting that they can go to near them?
Well, I think you're going to put up on the TV screen a list of phone numbers and a website that people can go to contact to get more information about Al-Anon and Al-Anon.
And if people just wanted to make a donation, is that something they could do through the web?
Certainly, they could.
You don't get grants from the government or anything like that, right?
No grants. We're not affiliated with any other organization at all.
It's just amazing that this program has lasted for so long and spread worldwide, with just individual funding, which I guess goes to speak to the prevalence of this issue.
Yes, and also the fact that this is a service organization, and most of the people who stay with Al-Anon end up being in service to the organization, as I do myself, in gratefulness for what we have gained from being in this incredible program.
Do you have a favorite success story that you could share with us?
Well, there are many success stories. I like to talk about my successes in Al-Anon as my epiphanies that I get from the things that I learn in this program, and to even find one of them over another. There's just so many epiphanies that I've gained in being in this wonderful program. I remember one time that I shared with my daughter, who is now in her 40s, that after about 30 years of marriage, thanks to Al-Anon, I had finally learned what I needed to learn to have a successful working marriage. And my daughter said, "Mother, it's about time. It only took you 35 years to figure that out." And I went, well, thanks to Al-Anon, I did figure it out. And I am just so grateful that I really have, through working these 12 steps, realized that the best answer in a relationship is to work on myself, and myself being a better person, rather than trying to fix or change the other person. And then when I changed, then the other person changed.
Yeah, they often say that before you can really find love, you have to love yourself. And we're all a work in progress. And if there's anything I've learned over the last 59 episodes, is that really it's about finding something you're passionate about. And whether it's creating a nonprofit organization or writing a book or whatever it is that you do, we're all going to struggle. But if you can actually tap into that weak spot, it can become your greatest source of strength. And by sharing stories, we can empower each other, which I think is an amazing, part of life. So thank you so much for being here. It's been really an honor having you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for tuning in. I wish you all the best. And here's to you making your love last.